Good morning, chestnuts. Today we're going to be answering the question, can I compare using the symbols more than, less than and equals? So to be successful today, you need to remember what each of them mean. And I'm going to show you a little symbol in a minute that should hopefully really help support you with that understanding. So we've looked at these before, and remember we used the crocodile to try and help us remember which symbol is which. So this symbol is the less than symbol, and what that means is that the number that you put on the left hand side is less than the number you put on the right, because remember the mouth of the crocodile eats the largest number. We then have the more than or greater than symbol, and again we have the mouth eating the largest number, so now the largest number comes first, which is why we say that this number would be more than or greater than the number on the right. So if you need to today, you might want to draw those on a separate piece of paper to help remind you, which will give you support during the lesson. So our starter task for today is to use these symbols and the equals to complete the comparisons. So you've got 4 different comparisons there. The first 2 are using counters. Have a think, are they equal? Is one greater than the other? We then are comparing a number to an array, and then we've got 2 sets of calculations. Are they representing the same amount? Are they representing a different amount, or are they equal to each other? When you get onto the multiplications, especially 12 times 4, think about the work that we've been doing over the last few weeks with multiplication. Remember that the 4 times table is double the 2 times table, so if you're not quite sure, think about what 12 times 2 is, and then double it. Okay, and I'll write that down just to remind you. So think, what is 12 times by 2? And then double it, and that's going to help you work out what 12 times 4 is. So what I'm going to do now is go through the answers. So if you're not quite ready yet, why don't you pause the video, and then when you play it again, we're going to go through the answers. So here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 counters, whereas over here we've only got 5, which means that 6 is greater than 5. Remember, the open part is facing the largest number. We then have 15, and this array is showing us 3 times 4, and 3 lots of 4 is 12. So this one also means that 15 is greater than 12. Here we've got 12 times 0. If you multiply any number by 0, the answer is 0. So we've got 0, and then 12 plus 0 is 12, which means that 12 times 0 is less than 12 plus 0. And finally, we've got 50 and 12 times 4. Now remember, for 12 times 4, we can do 12 times 2, which is 24, and double it to get 48, which means that 50 is greater than 48. Okay, hopefully you understand those. If not, you could always rewind the video and listen to them again. So for our learning today, we're going to be comparing statements using those 3 symbols, and we're going to be using our times table knowledge to help us today. So the first thing we have here is 2 pictures using dice, and what I want you to think about is, are they representing the same amount or a different amount? And it's not only to do with the amount of dice there are, it's to do with what they represent. So think, how many groups of dice do you have, and how many dots are there within each? Have a think for a few minutes, pause the video if you need to. Hopefully what you'll be noticing is here we've got 4 dice and they've got 5 dots in each. So we could write that as 4 times by 5. And over here we've got 5 dice with 4 dots in them. And hopefully from your knowledge, you can remember that 4 times 5, which is 20, is the same as 5 times 4, which is 20, which means those 2 are equal to each other. Let's have a go at this one. So pause the video, have a think, and then we'll go through the answer. Hopefully what you've thought about here is you've got 2 towers and they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 counters in each. So we have 2 towers of 6. Whereas over here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 counters of 2. So 2 times 6 is 12, and 7 times 2 is 14, which means, oh, let's put that in front so we don't hide it, that we're going to use the less than symbol because 12 is less than 14. Okay, why don't you have a go at this one? Again, we're looking at arrays this time, so think about what multiplication calculation these arrays are showing us. Hopefully you've noticed they've got 5 by 3. So we've got 5 lots of 3, and over here we've got 3 lots of 5, which is 3 times 5, which represents the same amount, doesn't it, chestnuts? 5 times 3 is 15, and 3 times 5 is also 15, so they are equal to each other. Now we're going to look at 2 calculations. We've got 15 divided by 3, and we've got 15 divided by 5. What you might want to do is get 15 of something. Do you have 15 animals? 15, could you get pencils? 15 of anything. And if you were to share those into 3 equal groups, how many would you have in each group? And then do the same. Start with that 15 again. If you were to divide them and share them into 5 groups, how many would be in each? Pause the video and have a think. Now, I can't show you physical resources this morning, but I've drawn bar models to help you. So what I've done here is I've shared 15 into 3 equal groups, and you'll notice it gives us 5 because 5 lots of 3 make 15. Whereas in this one, we've shared 15 into 5 equal groups, and that's 5 equal groups of 3, which means that 15 divided by 3 is greater than 15 divided by 5, because the answer of 15 divided by 3 is 5, and the answer of 15 divided by 5 is 3, and 5 is a larger number than 3. Now, when we're comparing statements, sometimes we can compare more than one of something. So here it says, Tommy has a multiplication fact which is greater than Dexter's, but less than Jack's. What multiplication fact could Tommy have? So this is Tommy in the middle, and you can see the question mark. So we've got here 4 times 4. So have a think, if we have 4 lots of 4, how many do we have? Hopefully, you'll have remembered that we have 16, okay? And over here, Jack has got 5 lots of 4. So think, if 4 lots of 4 is 16, we need to add 1 more lot of 4 to get to 5 times 4, which gives us 20. So we need to think of a number that comes between 16 and 20, and then work out a multiplication fact that Tommy could have used. So all the numbers that come between 16 and 20 are 17, 18 and 19. Can you think of a multiplication that would result in any of those answers? Why don't you pause the video and have a think? I think the best number to use is 18 because we know that's an even number, and hopefully you can remember that all even numbers are divisible by 2. But you also might think that 18, I recognise that that's a multiple of other numbers. So let's have a think. If we use our knowledge of the 2 times tables, what do we times by 2 to make 18? 2 lots of what to make 18? And hopefully you'll have thought about the fact it's 2 lots of 9. So that could be Tommy's multiplication. But also you might remember that 18 appears in the 3 times tables. And I think how many lots of 3, you can pause the video if you want to, get groups of 3. How many groups do we need in order to make 18? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. We need 6 groups. So those are 2 examples of numbers that Tommy could have put into this space here because they all mean that any of these numbers are bigger than 16, but they're smaller than 20. Okay, if you want to have a little go and have a try at writing one of these yourselves, then by all means do. We've got another one here, and it says 8 times 4, and we've got 8 times 2 times 2. So have a think, if we have 8 lots of 4, which is the same as 4 lots of 8, how many are we going to have? Let's have a look. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 lots of 8. So if we're thinking of our bar model there, we want to think how many do we have in total? So we've got 8, 16, 24, 32. Whereas on this side it says 8 times 2 times 2. So let's start with the fact we've got 8 times 2. And we should hopefully remember that 2 lots of 8 makes 16. But we're then timesing that by 2 again. So we've got another set of them, which means another set of 16. And if we have 2 lots of 16, how many do we have? Why don't you work out what 16 plus 16 is equal to? Hopefully you'll recognise that that represents the same amount as 32, which means that those two are equal. Because what I'd like you to think about, chestnuts, here is that 2 lots of 2 are equal to 4. So it still is 8 times 1, 2, 3, 4, isn't it? We've then got a comparison using calculation. So we've got 40 divided by 2. So I've shown you 40 here, and I've divided it by 2. I've separated it down the middle. So have a think, how many have we got each side? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So 40 divided by 2 is 20. And we've been told that that equals how many lots of 5? Now, what you might notice, chestnuts, when you look at this, is if we do this, they're grouped into groups of 5. So, how many groups of 5 do we need to be equivalent to 20? We need, how many? 4. So 4 times 5, which is 20, is equal or equivalent to 40 divided by, oh, sorry about that, chestnuts, 40 divided by 2. So he represents 4. This is going to be our final one for this morning. We have 3 times 8 is greater than 8 times something. So I've got 3 lots of 8 here, and I can show you in your rings if you want. We've got 1 lot of 8, 2 lots of 8, 3 lots of 8. So that's greater than. Now, this, hopefully you'll recognise, is also showing us 3 lots of 8. So that can't be greater than. But if we were to get rid of one of our sets of 8, let's do this, we could now say that 3 times 8 is greater than 8 times 2. Okay, because we've now got 2 lots of 8. But what I could also do is, let's do this, I could also get rid of another lot of 8 that shows us that 3 times 8 is greater than also 3 times by 1. And if I got rid of all of them, you might be able to work this out before I finished. We could say that 3 times 8 is not only greater than 8 times 2, it's not only greater than 8 times 1, but it's also, let's just finish this calculation for you, greater than 8. How many lots of 8 do I have now? I don't have any. But it's also greater than 8 times by 0. So the final thing I'd like you to have a think about before you move on to your work is a bit of a reflection, and how confident are you with using those 3 symbols that we've looked at today? If you were to rate yourself from 0 to 10, 10 being you're really confident at using those symbols and you're really looking forward to independently answering your work, or maybe you're more towards the 5 where you feel quite confident with them, but maybe you want to listen to the video again and have another go. Okay, but if you're a bit lower down and don't feel very confident yet, then why don't you try and work with an adult and look through the video again and then have a go at working together to answer your questions. Okay, I really believe in you, Chestnuts, and I know you're going to do really well with this task today. Just let me know if you have any questions, okay? Bye!